Hey, happy Sunday, everyone. Boy, I got a shadow on my glasses, don't I? Just had a little rain shower come through. I'm a day late. This should be Saturday night. But last night we did something kind of interesting. I heard some old time gospel music, and here in Tampa, Clearwater, they have a church that they call it country church. Saturday night country church. So last night we went to country church, and it was actually really kind of cool. Listen to some preaching, some old time gospel songs. It was actually really cool. So anyway, that's my excuse for not being here Saturday. Next few weeks I'm going to talk about something, and what this starts with is it starts in the book of Judges. So in the Bible is really a history. It's a story of God. And it starts in Genesis. It goes through with the creation of everything, the creation of man, how man kind of rejected God, fell away from God, disbelieved God. But then how God never rejected them. And it goes through, and you see that in the story of Noah. Then it goes in the story of Abraham. And since people rejected him, he wanted to reach people through one special group, the Jews. And that's kind of the story of Abraham on up. The Exodus, Prince of Egypt, all that. And eventually, they get to the Promised Land, the land of Canaan, which is full of Canaanites. Canaanites didn't want their land taken. So the Jews had to fight. That's the story of Joshua. And then Joshua dies. So what we're left with is we're left with the Jews in the land of Canaan with no leader. So at this time in history, the series of leaders are brought up. And they're called the Judges, 12 judges. What's interesting in this story, and why I mention this, is every time you'll see it repeat itself 12 times. Every time what happens is it says, and the people forgot their God and did evil in his sight. And then God raised up a judge. They called out to God, God raised up a judge, and he rescued them. Time of peace. The people forgot their God, did evil in his sight, bad things happened, they cried out to God, God raised up a judge. There's a lot going on that reminded me of this story, and primarily, I've thought of all the people, in the Western world, America in particular, who have no experience with God, who have no background, who have forgotten God and all that he has done. And I think this is a time to look at this. So why I mentioned Judges today is this did happen 12 times, 12 judges. People forgot God, did evil in his sight, bad stuff happened, cried out to God, and God rescued them. And I'm not saying that's where we're at, but it certainly does remind me of this story in Scripture. And what I'm going to talk about in the next few weeks is another story in Scripture. It goes along these same lines. And it's the story of Jonah and Nahum, two other books in the Bible. These are called prophets, people of God. People that God spoke through at that time before they had Scripture. Now, we know the story of Jonah and the big fish, but who the heck is Nahum? And what does he have to do with Jonah? And what does he have to do with Judges? And how does all this stuff tie together? So what I'm going to start with is next week I'm going to start with the story of Jonah. And we're going to see what happens, and then we're going to find out where Nahum fits into this picture. And how come kids today aren't named Nahum? That question I don't have an answer to, but anyway, it's going to be an interesting run. I hope you'll join us next week. If you know the story of Jonah, it might remind you of some things. If you don't, it's a really interesting story. And looking forward to talking to you guys. That's what I got. Just remember that, what I said about the judges. The people forgot God, did evil in his sight. Bad stuff happened, and then they cried out to God for help. Follow us for all our updates on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter at FL Compass Church. And for all the latest updates and all the information, www.flcompasschurch.org. Check back Wednesday. We'll be answering the questions that you're asking. And remember, next Saturday, Jonah. Have a wonderful Sunday. Great rest of the weekend. See you Wednesday.